Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the HHR Building Committee. It's Wednesday, July 24th, and I'll call the meeting to order. I'll start with a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our regular meeting on June 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Jameson moves, Dave seconds. All those in favor? See, Paige and Chris and Tom, if you could just say your name if you approve, or aye.
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 Okay. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next is public comment. We don't have any members of the public here this evening, so I'll move on to the third item, which is the chair report. Chris is on the move, so I'm chairing this evening. Everything that I would have to report, however, we're going to cover later in the meeting, so I'll go directly to the meat of the meeting. With that, I'll turn it to ONGAP for an update on the key project milestones in the upcoming schedule, which will include our OAC meeting from July 19th and a review of the project timeline.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to start out. I'm just going to give you guys a brief overview. We have the 3 schools to go through. I'm not going to get too in depth unless somebody has some other questions regarding a specific school. So just starting with Henley. Right now we're working on the the excavate for the foundations, prepping the Route 1 entrance, installing drainage and sanitary piping. On the inside of the building, we're working through the phase 1A portion of the project, which at Henley is 3 classrooms, and that's running line sets for the air conditioning units that go to the roof. Getting steel set up for that rooftop equipment inside of the ceiling of the phase 1 area. And then also working on some transfer duct work and the electrical to run the new rooftop units and the unit ventilators. Also, the concrete is starting on for the foundation footings for the addition in the back. Jumping over to Homes. Over there, they're finishing up the trenching for the main electrical service and the generator, and installing again sanitary structures and piping. The north parking lot extension. Mechanically, it's more the same. It's phase 1A work, but it's a little more work here at Homes for phase 1A. There's 5 classrooms here at Homes that are being done. And again, that's refrigerant piping running through the ceiling areas. Concrete would be just hadn't started at the point of this meeting, but it will be this week. And then the same with the electrical. They're working actually in the main service room and the build out of the new electric room, as well as running power to the new units. And then at Royal, again, we have excavation for the foundation. They're starting the curbing and sidewalk and infiltration system in the new parking areas on both sides of the building. We've run power, the conduits over for the new electrical service. Concrete started footings in the deep hole area of the classroom portion. Mechanically, again, in the phase 1A, we have 6 classrooms of 1A work here, and they're running refrigerant piping and transfer duct work, as well as the electric to power the air conditioning and the unit ventilators. We have some miscellaneous patching of drywall around the openings where the transfer ducts were. I'm sorry, I'm all 3 schools also. The fire protection has been updated in the corridors to meet the fire marshal's standard for the school being in session. We got to turn the sprinkler heads in the upright position because the ceilings have been taken out. And then also over at Royal, the library demolition had started. And that's kind of a quick overview of all 3 projects. The phase 1A work is on track to be completed for the start of school, with the one caveat that we had brought up in the meeting on last Friday, which was that the unit ventilators unfortunately are not shipping on time. They won't arrive until September 3rd, which is obviously a few weeks too late. It was the decision was made during that meeting that there is no benefit to us trying to get these in off hours or on the weekends, as the unit ventilators that are in place still work and function properly. And the air conditioning was not going to be available in the new units even if we got them in time. So we are going to hold off until there's a break in school and we could just do it during normal working hours. Each unit would take about 3 days to get fully installed, start to finish, removing it to, painting the wall.
So that means something like December, Scott?
Looking at the calendar, Jill, that's probably going to be our best shot. I think there is a chance that we can get that some of the units will come in time. If that happens, because Henley only has 3 units to install, we were going to try to get those in before school started, if it's possible. That's a very slim possibility. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but that is the plan if that does happen. And it'll work out. If that does happen, it'll work out well, because it'll give us an opportunity to see what the issues would be in installing them going forward. And 3 of them isn't a big push to get done, in a short amount of time. We can have 3 crews working on them. We can get it done probably in 3 days.
Okay.
So that's our hope, that some of them will show up and we can get things done. So that's kind of the update on the project so far. The addition work is all moving forward. We are working through some various issues with some items that were unforeseen when digging these holes. With different piping coming out of the building that, was not noted on the plans, which is not anything big, but it's all stuff to work through. So that sums up, I think, the project update. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of the 3 projects?
No, thank you.
Scott, I just one comment based on the meeting that we had last week. I know that there's one item related to exterior doors, and we're working through that with school personnel, and we should have answers to you shortly.
Okay. Was that the color?
Yes, it's just we need to clarify internally what basically one of the committees that we had to go through in the town had been asking us to do, and we just want to make sure that we're meeting their goals as well as our expectations for color and finish.
Okay. I think there's only one area right now I think that's going to affect us, and that's at Homes, and one of the exterior doors that was getting installed because it's needed for egress. Because
is that going to be a temporary door, or is that a permanent door?
It was going to end up being a permanent door.
Is it a hollow metal door, or is it an aluminum door?
I believe it's an aluminum frame.
Aluminum. What part of the building is it in?
It's the back part of the building. It's a rear stairwell by where the addition goes.
So it's just a singular door in a singular frame?
It's a double door.
All right, but so all the exterior doors are planned to be blue. That was their request, and that's what most of the exterior doors are today at those 3 schools. So the door will be blue, and
Okay.
the frame will match the adjacent frames. So at Homes, typically those frames are white. So we will review that again internally, but that would be the expectation.
Okay, that's great because we can, they're gonna have,
Yeah.
So what we did for these, so we have a couple of areas, just so everybody's kind of aware of what's going on here. There's a couple of areas, one at Henley and one at Holmes. Henley is a window, and at Holmes is a door that we're discussing. We have the go ahead to make the window white at Henley, but these are items that needed to be done in this phase in order to prepare for the 1B phase of the additions. At Henley, the roof line is tying into this stairwell window and it had to be shrunk, and that's why the new window has to go in. And at Holmes, the new addition coming off the back of the building ties into where this existing door is, and we needed to add another exterior door for egress. So we had our window contractor order these frames clear anodized for now, and they're going to send them out to be shot painted to match these colors. So we can.
All right. I'll review some of the stuff with Travis tomorrow where these specific areas are, and I might early morning Friday take a site visit out to those spaces so I can just put my eyes on them.
Yeah, sure.
So that we can get this wrapped up this week.
Yep, that'd be great.
I'll join you, Eric.
Hope you like 7 a.m.
I will have been at the high school at 5:45.
I can meet you there at 6. I can top your date.
Yeah, it's like playing Name That Tune.
I'm not getting there before 6. It's too long of a ride. 6 o'clock's my cutoff for getting down there. The only time you'll get me up earlier is to get on an airplane to leave the country.
That's fair. Okay.
Does anybody have anything else regarding the projects?
Nope. Anything else on the timeline, Scott, or that's your timeline too?
The timeline, yeah, I think the timeline is the 1A is really the critical timeline right now. Is getting everything put back together for school.
Okay.
The additions run out until June of 2025. So.
Okay.
Scott, I have one other question, and I think the owner might ask this at some point, but change orders are something that we tend to see earlier on in the project when you start to tear things apart. Often it's underground site utilities, or it's when we start taking apart walls. You've started doing the underground stuff. It sounds like you haven't seen anything crazy there in terms of potential change orders. And I don't know if you've opened up enough walls to know what you've seen inside, but I guess we'll always be interested to know when you see something that's potential. And just for this group's understanding, typically that's happening in the first quarter to a third of the project that you uncover everything that, or 90% of the stuff that could be potentially a change order.
So that's a good point, and we are getting there. To your point, some of the drainage that I mentioned, this extra drainage coming out of the back of Henley. Today we unearthed a 24-inch concrete pipe that is not in the location on the plan, and it's going to need to be moved. So there is some of that coming on the interior. We did not come across anything as of yet that was something we weren't not expecting. I think there was one. There might be one on the mechanical side, but that hasn't come to full fruition yet, so I can't even really comment on it. But there will be some coming.
And Scott,
was there one little thing too? Like, it's minor, right? With some of that the wood that's now exposed above the corridor ceilings.
Yeah, that'll be that'll be something small, but when we exposed the some of the old ceiling where we had taken out the acoustical ceiling, above that there was some combustible wood that was installed back when they had probably a plaster ceiling in there to begin with when the school was built. That combustible wood has to come out. It can't stay in there. It's fire hazard. Again, it's something minor, but it's something that'll be coming as a change.
And another thing I'd like to make this committee aware of is a comment that you made the other day at the meeting associated with Henley School and drainage, that there was some concern about water coming off the campus and not having a storm drain adjacent, but there was another underground, there was a manhole there, and you had mentioned potentially swapping a manhole with a drainage basin, which could either substitute or reduce a future change order. So ideas like that mitigate any sort of changes would be great to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm staying in line with what was told to me at the beginning of this project, right? You know, we had to go back and get more money to get the project started. So we're going to try to make the change orders as minimal as possible and as few as possible. So, we're trying to come up with any ideas that we could do to make that happen.
Thank you.
And to add to Eric's point about the interior changes, we haven't, for our phasing schedule, we haven't done major interior renovation yet, and that'll be starting next summer. So although we might not be seeing a lot of those things now, we'll be seeing a lot of the interior spaces during the second year of the project.
So my comment there, Matt, would be maybe it's a good opportunity to open up a couple areas just to see above those ceilings to see what we're potentially going to see later on. So because at some point we want to be able to release any contingency money for other stuff if possible, but if we're doing investigations next summer, we won't be able to do any of that till after we've uncovered everything.
That's a good point. We have winter break, February break, and April break, 1 week each that we could take advantage and possibly do some additional investigation in preparation for those 2B and later phases. So that's a good point. Thank you.
I'd recommend that.
I think these 1A phases have kind of opened up everyone's eyes to what the problems could be going forward. I know that we run into some, you know, on the mechanical side, you know, questions with beams in the way and having to move chases over in order to get ductwork to work and that kind of thing. So I think we could definitely get a jump on trying to find those shortfalls or pitfalls, I should say.
So now if I can change the subjects here, from change orders to we have a groundbreaking in 3 weeks or something like that. And you mentioned having, you know, at Oxbridge, there was a banner. I know for previous community events, we've had colored boards printed out of renderings of the 3 different schools. Dr. Adley, I don't know if we still have those color boards that we can use at that event or whether we need to print new ones.
I think Eric, we still have those. I'll confirm with Kevin, but I believe we still have those. And it seems that I know there was, well, there's another agenda item to talk about this, but can I just ramble now, or do you want me to wait?
Why don't we just follow the agenda? Sorry, Eric, but
Okay.
I'm sorry.
that's okay. All right, so let's move to the next section. The issues and concerns raised by school neighbors and proposed steps to address. Scott, I'll port that back to you.
Yep. So we had a few items come up, one at each school. I'll start with Royal because that was kind of mitigated fairly easily. One of the residents behind the school had some issue with just not feeling that he was not informed onto what the agenda was and how we were moving forward with the project and the start of school, buses coming in because we had everything fenced off. I was able to, you know, print him out another copy of the flyer that we had sent out, and I went over it with them and exactly how we were getting everything put back together for the start of school, and that there would not be any difference for the neighborhood than any other school year, except that we'll be working in that field. And I have not heard anything else back from that gentleman after that. So I feel that he was satisfied up until now. Then I'll go to Hindley, and this was more of a water issue, and As you all know, we've had some torrential rainstorms going over the past few weeks. We've started construction. We are working on the drainage actively over there. Really, the neighbor that had the complaint was worried about the water coming off the driveway, the existing bus loop driveway, out onto Hoyt Street. It runs down, and there's a storm sewer basically about maybe 20 feet away from where the driveway comes onto Hoyt. And that takes on the bulk of the water that comes out of that driveway. Looking to the future, our future bus loop had a similar situation. They did add a storm drain at the top of the bus loop, but the remainder of the bus loop will spill out on to Hoyt, and that would go into a storm drain that's about maybe 200 yards down the road. So there'd be quite a flow of water by that time getting down to there is the concern. And that's why we were talking about, to what Eric touched on with, right now there's a manhole at the end of that driveway. We were talking to the civil engineer about possibly changing that structure to a storm sewer to take on the water. We haven't heard back. He agreed that that was not a bad idea and that he felt that he could make that work. So I think that's what we were going to do going forward. I know that we had spoke to the neighbor about, that we would look into this problem. That same day, basically the same day that we had some interaction with her, it was started pouring rain. Matt was still on site. I talked to Matt. He said he won't, he was going to go out and take some video and some pictures so we could have it for ourselves as well. The neighbor came out at the same time to do her own filming, so she saw that we were actively taking, some type of action, at least to what her complaint was. And I think she was pretty satisfied that, we were taking her seriously and looking into it. And I know,
and Scott, just to follow up, I was going to say that Joe is reviewing with the town because he has another project with the town regarding the roadways. So he was taking that opportunity to review adding a structure.
Yep.
There with them, and we'll get back to the team on that.
And then we did have another breach during one of the rainstorms of the silt fence, and that ran through another neighbor's yard. Again, we went and addressed it directly with the neighbor. He was not upset that it happened. He wanted to just be aware of what was happening, and if this was going to be an ongoing issue, which we assured him that it would not be an ongoing issue. It was a one-time thing, and we took measures to make sure that area was more secure to take on the amount of rain that we were getting.
And part of what's happening in all these cases, Scott, is a lot of these things would be addressed by some of the work we're doing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just over at Henley, there's just a lot of work going on. We are actively working on the site drainage. It's just these rainstorms are just a lot of rain all at once, and it's really hard to contain. I mean, we all know what water can do. It's powerful, and it's, like I said, it's really hard to contain, and we do our best. And I think everybody did a really good job. Even though we had an incident of cleaning it up and making sure that the residents were content and happy with the work we were going forward, and that they had a direct line of communication with us as well going forward.
Thank you.
So I left the best one for last, and that is at Holmes. And at Holmes, we have a problem with vibration, and one of the neighbors is very concerned that the vibratory rollers that have been used to compact the material underneath the new parking area are going to break items of his home because of the vibration. He went to the first selectman to bring up his query of a problem, and then we're not sure how far this has gone or if he's talked to his neighbors, so we don't know if neighbors are going to get onto this issue with him or not. So at the OAC meeting, Chris had asked me to look into some pricing for what it would cost for us to take some photographs, interior and exterior, of these homes, so they could be documented for future in case that there's any there is any damage to the home. And then also we were looking at possibly putting vibration monitors on the property, which are generally used for blasting, which is much more, I'll use the right word, but it's a little more powerful than the vibratory roll that we do. So I did get pricing for both of those.
I just wanted to also say it's worth noting as part of that context before the pricing is that there's construction going on the road on Hoyt Street anyways that is probably causing, if not more, causing vibration, if not more than what you guys are doing. So
that's correct. And I don't know what the extent of that was. And we haven't contacted anybody regarding that. So I don't know what the extent of that was or who was doing it. I think it was Eversource, and I think it was a gas line, but I'm not 100% sure. But they were definitely working right across the street from this gentleman's home around the same time we were working. So with that, I just got some rough order of magnitude pricing because this was, a quick thing and we don't know how far we're going to take this, but just so you have a context, for a 3-month period to do the vibration monitoring, it would be about $12,000 for 3 months. Again, this is rough order of magnitude numbers. It might be a little bit cheaper, but it's going to be pretty significant. And then as far as the picture taking, I think it's a little more friendly price wise, and that is to do an interior and exterior pictures of the home. And this would be similar to the pictures that we've taken for each school through the same company. It's anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 per house, up to 8,000 square feet. So I don't know. I don't think there's any homes bigger than that on that road. So I think this would cover that number. And that would just be a one-time capture of existing conditions, interior and exterior, and would give you a baseline for future comparison. So if they'd go in and take full pictures of every room of the house, and also take pictures of all the exterior of the house, including driveway and stuff like that. So down the road, he says, "Oh, my wall's cracked, and there was never a crack there." We have documentation, or if there was a crack there already previously before the work, like I said, it would just be documented. So again, Chris asked for these rough numbers. This is what I put together quickly for that. I know that the first selectman did also send an email to Chris regarding this, saying that although this man is an acquaintance of his, that everyone should proceed with the best interest of the town.
How many schools would we be talking about for pictures?
This would just be at homes, and right now it would just be one house, unless we wanted to do surrounding neighbors as well, just for good measure. Because in my mind, if he's gone to the first selectman, I'm sure he's knocked on his neighbor's doors.
It's a small enough price point that I think we can probably, if you can document for us, Scott, we can probably sign off online after we get a couple of us to review it.
Okay. So you think that we just might want to move forward with doing the photos?
That would be my inclination to start, at least in the one house.
Okay.
Yeah. My inclination would be to do the photos for the one house that has complained. And if one of the other neighbors comes forward, we can do those pictures at that time.
Okay. So moving forward with this, we would obviously need this person's consent to come on his property and do this work. I don't know how we handle that portion of that.
I think we can talk about it offline, but I think we'd reach out probably directly by email, which is how he contacted us.
Yeah.
Copy Chris and myself. And
in my mind,
who else?
in my mind, he'd want to move forward with it. I mean, he was concerned about it. I know he wants us to try to come up with alternate routes of trying to do our work, but I don't know that that's actually possible to do.
Yeah, so in your professional recommendation, we probably need to pursue what we're doing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that this is a good way to go. Like I said, the price point to me is not huge. And I think, like I said, at least it documents stuff going forward. So, you know, in 2 years, you know, if he wants to say that his walls are cracked or the tile fell off his walls, we know that they were intact when we left 2 years ago.
Okay. I think, yeah. And can you talk a little bit about the taking of photos, doing it on other projects? I've had it done in an old house that I had when somebody was blasting across the street, but what's the precedent for that? When is that typically done? Have you done it on other projects? My other concern being that if there's another public project going on across the street that also is potentially impacting the house. I guess those are two different concerns. So my first question is talk a little bit about the use of photos, please.
In our experience, I'm sorry.
In
our experience, it's almost exclusively for blasting or rock removal, where there's vibration in the ground. We've never done it for just general construction, but it sounds like this is good practice in this case, and so that we can document existing conditions. So if he ever comes back later, as Scott mentioned, we have photos that show the before.
I would agree to that. Before ONG, when I worked for a site contractor and for a civil engineer, it was only ever exclusively done for blasting and removal, not for paving.
Okay. Just send me an email, Scott, and we'll sign off. We'll handle it over email.
Okay. I'll get that moving forward because I know we're going to be paving very soon, you know, in the next few weeks in August, and we're going to be running the rollers again. So I've already, you know, told the guys if we were going to move on this, it was going to be something quick. So I think we should be able to handle it. I don't see it being an issue. So we could, like I said, I'll send you something tomorrow and we can move forward.
Yeah. And that gives everyone in the committee a minute to think about it too.
Yeah. Yep. This way you can run it by everybody. But like I said, we could so if we act on it in before the end of the week, I think would be good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. So those are the concerns that were raised by neighbors. I think that covers all of that, hopefully for good, but I don't know if that will come to fruition or not.
Okay.
Discuss updated community communication with OG and the building committee. So this kind of came about because of these neighbors' concerns. You know, these flyers were sent out to everybody before the project started. I've gotten the feeling that these neighbors didn't open these envelopes, or if they did, they didn't read them very carefully and got rid of them. Because some of the questions that were asked, you know, were covered in the flyers that were sent out. They all should have, you know, really had an idea of how these projects were moving forward. So, Chris was, you know, kind of throwing around the idea that maybe we have some type of updated communication sent to the neighbors. I don't know how better we can do it besides just sending it in the mail. And my thought was, now that we've actually started and we're going to have the ONG AP signs hung on fences in front of the schools, and the neighbors see the work going on, that maybe when they see an ONG envelope come to their house, they might actually open it and pay more attention to it now. But I'm open to other ideas of how you guys feel that we could better communicate with the neighbors.
This is Dave, just my 2 cents. I think looking back on it, I get your point there, Scott, right? We have more of a presence in those 3 neighborhoods now. Well, 2 of the 3. I mean, Royal, we were kind of near there already, but I'm wondering if with the next one, that if it shouldn't come via a piece of mail from the town of Darien or the Darien Public Schools, because those are, you know, it might be a little more, the likelihood of someone just looking at it maybe as like junk mail or something might be less, because certainly mail coming from the town or the Board of Education would be far more familiar for each of these neighbors than something with our logo on it.
I think was there sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Dave if you could give us an idea of what would happen over at Oxridge and what the precedent was.
Oh, sorry. We at Oxridge, we never issued even the paper neighbor policy there. We had done the neighborhood presentation, and there were a couple of neighbors throughout the project, nowhere near the number of neighbors with one project we had, but a lot of that seemed to go directly to either Principal Forshaw or some of it would come through Chairman Coons. So there really were not a lot of people who were raising concerns about the project, but as they came up, they were dealt with, and they were brought to us largely by, I'd say, Principal Forshaw at the school.
I think substantially that's what we're experiencing now. I would say the number of neighbor concerns that we've heard seems fairly reasonable. Not that I'm qualifying any individual neighbor's questions. I don't mean that, but in terms of volume, I would expect, a couple of people at intermittent times on each site. It's a project with 3 sites, so it's unsurprising, I think. So I would say I would count where we are so far is relatively successful, in my opinion. I think, however, going forward, if there is a desire to keep the lines of communication open, we could discuss additional ways. I do think perhaps at OAC there was a discussion, or the previous HHR, you talked about a forum at each of the schools on a quarterly or some other basis to answer questions. We could certainly trial something like that, see if neighbors have any interest in attending. I did think, Dave, there were 1 or 2 information sessions at Oxridge that were actually up to the neighbors.
Yeah, I think we did those during pre-construction.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So if
I was just going to say, depending on how much you want to make the communication advertised to others, you could have something potentially on site, like a QR code that says, like, have questions, contact us here. And there's and that either goes to an email address or a form submission that is then answered by somebody. It makes it may be broadcasting it too availably, making it too much available, but it would make it simpler for somebody that is a neighbor that doesn't know how to get in contact. And then you have their email addresses and or text, because I mean that's how most communication is now, is email and text. So
Paige just asked a question. Is there an obvious way for folks to get in touch? Paige, I don't know that there is for some folks if they don't have kids in the schools. We did send out information before construction started. I don't know what the actual piece of paper looked like. I don't know if it was in a letter. I don't know if it was in a card, like a postcard, a large postcard that was sent. But I believe some folks may have thrown it away. So it may be worth doing. We can talk about, Jill, whether or not, and Chris and reiterating the contact information was on those pieces of information that was sent. I think, Dr. Adley, I think if you're still on the call, I don't know.
Here,
how you feel about having one from the schools. I can certainly discuss, as far as what the town is doing, but this isn't a neighbor issue, which may fall on the town lines. But I do think a lot of what happened at Oxford went through Luke Forshaw.
I think, Sarah and Jameson, maybe we could back up and you guys could take sort of an overall look at a timeline and a couple of different channels of communication. I think maybe what we could do is kind of, as we wrap up the summer, move into the fall and move into the next phase, do a little bit of time to very, very high level summarize what's happened, what's to come. We could use the town newsletter. We could use a communication from Alan in the same relative time period. I do think it's worth taking a look at the website and making sure that what is on the HHR front page is very easy, that people understand, do we have Scott's information up there if they go to the town website and that's where they look. So if you guys could just sort of do an audit of what's out there, Jameson, where, I love the concept of a QR code, where can we put it? And think about, whether it is hosting a couple of other forums or simply just making sure that the right set of information is anywhere we think people might look. That would be super helpful.
Do you want us to pull up the flyer real quick just so you guys can see what it looked like originally?
Want to just email it to Jameson and Sarah?
Sure.
I think they have it, but
that's all right. Send them an update of it. That's fine. You said all the information was on there. You said the QR code's not a bad idea. I just don't know how we would go about making that available to everybody.
Yeah. Well, Jameson and Sarah can come up with a plan, and we can bang out the detail, or they can bang out the details with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Chris also, like you said, he brought up, he mentioned possibly having something for the neighbors at each school. So once we dial back for the kids coming back to school, we really go back onto the footprint of the property too. We're not going to be so spread out as we are right now. So I don't know if it'd be better to just have another update before next summer when we again really take over more area of work.
I think we should have a communication plan that kind of reflects where we are in the phasing. I think we're going to have students coming into occupied school buildings in September. So there's got to be some communication planned around that. I think there's also, we want to continue to generate excitement, like the libraries down at Royal. That's a big deal, right? We're going to be taking down the one at Hinley and restoring that new entrance. So, let's think about the cadence of the project, the cadence of the school year, and think about a couple of key communication points. And Jameson and Sarah are all hands at this. They can definitely put something together, and we can then work out what the best way to communicate at each of those inflection points is.
Do you think we want to get something out in September, kind of just outline what we're doing?
Be late August.
Late August, okay.
Yeah, because that's kids go back to school. What is it, Alan? The 28th?
Yeah, 28th.
Okay.
So something around that timeline. Alan can recommend, whether it's just before or just after. I don't, maybe just before, but Alan, you recommend it.
Yeah, okay.
Sarah and Jameson, whatever you guys need, from us, let us know. I know that we were also talking about sending out kind of like an updated newsletter out in each school, kind of along the same lines, so it lets everybody know kind of what's going on and how the project is progressing. And we're working on that internally. It's going to have some description of what's going on and things happening on the job, and also photographs of the progress at each school involved in that newsletter to go to each school. And that's what we're talking about doing forward.
Mm-hmm. I know you would probably cover this, Scott, but just make sure that and I can help with that too, like that they all go out at the same time.
Yeah, sure. No, we'll make sure that you guys are all involved. This is not something we're going to just shoot out without anybody knowing about it.
And I think it's valuable to think about how to communicate beyond the school community.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anything else on that topic?
No, I think that we're good there.
Okay. Then we have the last bit is the update on the groundbreaking ceremony.
Yep.
So let's thank you for those who were able to respond. It looks like the 13th at 10 a.m. is a good time. Now, when I say a good time, I mean the committee chairs can attend. The preponderance of people on the screen can attend. The principals can actually attend. I can attend. The Kevin Monrette can attend. The first selectman can attend. So it's not everybody, but with summer schedules and so on, I don't want to push it too far out because then it doesn't really feel, it's pushing at the start of school type thing. So I would propose that we would go ahead with the 13th. I'm happy to work with Scott and Eric on the details in the program. We can model it off Oxridge. How do we look at Oxridge? Eric, you were right. We did some boards and some posters and some background. But once we decide on the school site and stuff, we can decide actually what to put up there. So I'm happy to work on that and we can confirm the date tomorrow out to people. And Scott, Eric, and I, we can sort of work on a draft sort of wee program to put together.
So, we were thinking along the lines of having it at Royal. I feel there's more room there.
What did you say, Scott?
We were thinking of having it at Royal.
Royal.
Yep. I feel there's more room there for everybody.
Yep.
And again, we were going to try to model it after what we did at Oxridge. We'll have, I think we have to have a lectern there for speaking. Again, we were going to get some shovels, and have, a pile of dirt for everyone to put their shovel in. We initially were going to go with 10. We were thinking, Matt, you could help me with this. I think we had the 3 principals, Dr. Adley, Jill, you and Chris. And then the first selectman, the representative. I don't know. From there, I don't know where.
Tracy, Tracy unfortunately cannot make that date.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, we can put the program together. That's fine. And I can work with you and Art.
Yep. And then we were also thinking along the lines of, even though it's going to be at Royal, it's really the HHR project. It's all 3 schools. So Matt and I were discussing this. We were talking about having, boards up showing each of the projects. Even though we were just going to be at Royal, because it is for all 3 projects. And I think it's, it's the, create excitement in the town. Yeah. It's something for the whole town.
I said I would coordinate with the media and also Darien TV 79.
Yeah.
So sometimes if we have fence scrims made, those big
Yes.
banners made, that you can use it for that event, and then it can be located at the campus so that people can see the rendering of what it's going to look like ultimately. So if we had one of those made for each of the schools, that's probably where it would ultimately get located. Otherwise, we can just use the posters that we've made or make new ones to match.
Just don't know what the timeline, Eric, if we're going to have enough time to do anything but the posters.
I don't know. We'd have to look into it, or you'd have to look into it.
Matt, and I know you would talk to Eliza at our office. I know what she was kind of giving us some timelines, correct?
Yeah, and Scott, she's fresh off dealing with an injury, and I think she's going to have some medical stuff coming up. So we're not going to have her for the full heavy lift. So we just have to take a look and see what's there and do what's within our means with the time we have.
Yep.
So I guess then it would be up to the town and the building committee as to what sort of visuals we would like to present during the groundbreaking ceremony. We could surely look into a piece of fence screen that can have a custom piece of scrim with any sort of layout and logos on it, or we could do the existing poster boards that we've used for the PTO presentations. I guess it's just a matter of what the building committee of the town would like to have present.
And what the time allows.
Correct. Right. I can get timelines fairly quickly from the subcontractors as well.
Why don't you guys just let us know what time allows? Because I think that's probably the first.
Yep.
I'm happy to touch base with you guys tomorrow, actually.
Great. Thanks, Alan.
Great. So I'll send an email with information on that. And then obviously the shovels will have the stickers identifying for the HHR project. And it'll have ONGAP on it, KGD on it. There'll be gold shovels, and they'll be handed over to, the people that Scott mentioned, and everyone could do what they want with the shovels afterwards.
Okay. Okay, guys.
So
Any other
Just-
questions about that?
I think I'm good on that. There's a couple other things. So, one, and we discussed this at the OAC meeting, was about, we met with the principals about trying to come up with some ideas for including the students in this, building activities that we have. And Matt, I think we're meeting with them again on Monday, correct?
Great.
That's
Just so you guys are aware of it, we are throwing around a few ideas.
Great.
One of them, is the painting of the walls that are interior of the school. I know it was discussed to possibly have a window put in so they could look into the work areas, but that was shot down by the fire marshal. He would want that to be a fire rated opening with fire rated glass. We just don't see the benefit and the cost of that.
So something along that line, Scott, that we did at Oxbridge though is in part of the temporary wall outside, that was not subjected to, that we put a viewing window in there so the students, when they were at recess, had a spot where they could kind of peek through and see what's going on the other side of the scrim.
Yep. We had discussed that, Dave. We're gonna make some viewing ports through the scrim for them to view.
Great.
I think that the principals appreciated that you're meeting with them. I think they're going to try and do something around construction week. I never knew there was such a thing, but there you go.
Neither did we.
Well, you will with our school. Yeah, right. So the kids will do something, and we'll recognize construction
That sounds fun. I think the guys.
personnel.
That's wonderful.
And one of the bigger ideas that we had come up with was possibly having a touch a truck kind of event where maybe we can get a concrete mixer and an excavator in the parking lot for the kids to be able to view and go up to. So we're working on that as well. Not sure if we're going to try to get that done in the fall, but it'd probably be, a good fall event because a lot of that equipment will be leaving before winter, I think.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for working with the principals. I think it's an exciting aspect of being part of a school community, but I love the idea of dimensionalizing it for everyone and creating excitement through the process, not just the end product.
Yep. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was the May payment application. Has the building committee seen that? Has the KG&D sent that to you guys? I'm guessing by the reaction that nobody has seen it.
No.
What is it,
I don't
Scott?
think
What
that
is it,
went.
Scott?
What's up?
What is it?
The May payment application.
We have not seen it, Scott, so let's follow up on that offline and make sure it gets done.
Yep. So just for
Yes.
everybody's knowledge on that, the payment application was reviewed by myself and KG&D, and then finalized with any revisions that had needed to be made on those. And then it was sent in for signature, so it's signed by the architect and ONG.
Okay.
And then it's for to send to you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, so then if we're to be sending that directly to you guys, we need to know who is the contact person we should be sending these requisitions to.
At Oxbridge, they were sent directly to the chairman
Okay,
as part of the materials for the building committee meeting.
I see. All right.
And sorry,
And honestly, that's something, Scott, I would say that when we get we'll get the fully certified copy from KG&D. Let's make the delivery of that application something that we do.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because
Yep.
I thought I was just responding to the into the AConX and signing off on that. I didn't realize that step.
Hey, if that's the only little loss in translation so far, we're doing pretty well, right?
We got there.
is the payment application going through AConX or is it going through Outlook?
No,
I
I,
have to go through Outlook, I think.
I mean, it's really just a matter of transmitting it, you know, getting it to Chris and Jill so that they can make it part of the materials that are distributed for the meeting. Because it is an actionable item, right? We need the committee has to bring it up and vote on it, and then I believe from there, after the meeting, is when it then continues on in the process, the town hall to be paid. So with this, I would say that I know it's always a little slow getting started on it, but I don't know if there's a way we could. Not sure what we can do because it is May and there's some trades that have been out there now for June and now coming up on July that it would be great to find a way to move some money to those trades before we meet formally a month from now.
So June's application is done and is in for signature. I haven't received it back to send it to KGB yet with the signature yet, but it is coming. So that definitely can be sent well before the next meeting. And I think at the next meeting, we'd be looking at July's payment.
So why don't you guys send us the May one? Let us know.
And the June.
Okay, June if it's ready.
Yes.
Give us a timeline for July, and then we'll take a look at the meeting schedule and see whether we need just a quick mini meeting to sign off on anything that's hanging or not.
Okay.
Please copy Dave Martin so that he has the information.
Okay, so gonna go to Dave, you, and Chris.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
All right. With that, thank you all. It's been just about exactly an hour. I'll take a motion to adjourn. That Sarah is motioning, seconded by David. All those in favor? Aye. All right. That is unanimous. Thank you all very much for your time. Happy end of July.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
See you.